Hello everybody! Recently I've been asked to make a tutorial on how to do modding for Machines Wired of War, and I simply could not say no because, well, who else is gonna do it? Anyway, let's not waste any time. I'm gonna make this short because I don't know much about modding myself, so I'm only gonna relay what has been found out by others that are more experienced in this matter. Now at first glance, modding machines seems impossible, but as I've shown in the last 3 videos of modding Machines Wired for War, it is perfectly possible to mod it. However, those modifications are very simple. It's just changes in parameters for various weapons and the bots. So let's see, how do we start? First, I'll assume that you have downloaded the files that I left links for in this video, the first part of a let's play of Machines Wired for War, and one of the modding videos where I was asked to make this tutorial. But everything you should find something like this. Looks nice. Go here and then go to machines. Here you will find that all of the necessary files to play the game are already waiting for you, so you just need to run it. No need to install anything, but if you really want, there were some image files a folder back. You need to go here to modding, but first of all, let's do something very important. The only file that we know is moddable, like you can modify it, is this one, mac1.met. I usually call it meta. It probably is meta file or something like that, so it's easier that way. Mac1 contains a lot of necessary shit to make sure that your game works and that everything is as it should be. You should make a backup of the original that you find when you first download the files and put it somewhere safe. Because if you don't and something fucks up, well, you'll probably have to re-download the whole package, because I'll probably be too lazy to just host the file alone somewhere. Alright, let's assume that you already got the backup. Now let's go to modding. Here you'll find a whole lot of shit and a backup Mac1 file just for you. Now don't worry, everything's fine here. If you really want to get this thing back, just, well, get into renaming mode, delete the backup parts of the name and delete the .old. That way you'll get your backup file back, but make sure you don't rename it back to the original name in this folder, else you're gonna screw shit up. Just copy paste it somewhere like your desktop and then do the thing. Anyway, you'll notice that there's plenty of crap around here. Some guides, some executables, some text files. It's just, oh, a log file. I haven't checked it. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And the most important question, how did you get all these folders to show up? That's easy. Drop in your Mac1 file in here. Just copy paste it in here. Then press extract. This little thing's gonna show up and it's gonna extract all the files that are inside the Mac1 file. You'll put all of these right here. They're just here waiting for you right now. These folders. That's what got extracted. Get some map pictures here, some models, And some sounds too. Well, more like sound files. Probably metadata. I'm not sure. However, the most important part for any beginner modder of Machines 1 will be in the data folder. Lots and lots of interesting shit in here, but the only file you'll be working with is parameter data. Here it is. Open it up with your WordPad. I would recommend using a WordPad. It's best that the file remains formatted the way it is right now. If everything went well, you should see something like this. Evasion strategies, machines, and weapons, and so on and so forth. Here you can change the base stats of the machines themselves, the stats of buildings, of weapons, and some general data. But I don't know about you, I usually don't tinker around with this general data here. I never had a need for that. Plus most of it seems to be commented already, like the nuke launch cost, that's commented, so it doesn't even work in the game. Probably for a good reason, maybe it would crash it. Let's have a quick glance at what stats are there that can be changed. Let's start with the buildings, I mean machines. Let's go with the machines. First thing is first, you will get the type. This one's an aggressor grunt. It's probably the scout or just a regular grunt. Most likely not. I believe scout and grunt fall under the same category. HW costs tell you how much resources you'll have to spend for one of these units in each respective construction facility. 35, 35, 50. Yeah, if you want to make your units cheaper, this is probably the place to be at. SW costs, I'm not entirely sure what that is, but it's probably the research costs. Maybe not, because I see that there's the research cost down here, so what that is for, not entirely sure. But if you really want to know more, you should probably check out the guides that they're right here. Judas made a great modding guide that you should check out. It's not a miracle, but it's good enough to get you started. Volume and minimum access size index, I would suggest not to touch these values. I'm not entirely sure what they do, but I believe the guide made by Judas specifically says that you shouldn't touch these values. It'll probably crash the game. Speed is how fast your unit can move. Task speed, I believe, is how fast the unit will respond to a command. Not entirely sure about that. Never used it. Acceleration, well, that's obvious. Much like rotation speed. Normally, the bigger the value, the better the result is, like the more faster or the more stronger it is. Now research costs, that's obvious, but then will you ever get the chance to research grunts? Normally people don't even start at that low of a research level. Armor and HP, obvious, don't need to explain anything here. Repair rate, that I believe is how fast your armor regenerates. As you can see, these are some pretty fast regeneration rates. Don't even reach a second. However, these units are pretty weak, so it's understandable. Number of weapons? I believe this is one of those restricted values that you shouldn't touch. Normally for a grunt it's only one weapon. Accuracy. This accuracy thing is only when you give the command to the bot to fight on his own and when you're not controlling him directly. Obviously this tells how accurate the damn thing is. The bigger the value, the more accurate it is. Scanner range, well, obvious enough of course. locomotion values should never be touched because those are confirmed to crash the game. Plus, you'll probably need to change values of the same type in other files, which as far as I'm aware are not entirely explored, so there's no way of knowing what's inside them. In any case, you should just leave the locomotion values alone unless you absolutely know what you're doing. Much like locomotion parameters. No idea what that is. EPP is, well, evasion parameters. Evasion strategies that you can see at the top of the list. I guess you could do something here. But I don't know. Body turn link. No idea. But as I understand, this probably has something to do with what parts of the robot's body are going to move. Like you can see that the first value, which stands for the scout, says none. And it makes sense, because when you move around with the scout, the whole thing moves around. But when you move the grunt's body around, it's just the gun part that moves around, not the whole body. Naturally, there are body turn rate values. It determines how fast it turns around. High and low clearance? I have no fucking clue, so don't ask me. Alright. That's all you need to know about the machines themselves. Let's look at what the buildings have on their stats. Let's take something that's not a well, actually, let's take two different buildings, a research center and something else. So there's a hardware lab military. Yeah, that's a type, as always. Hardware costs. Maybe that's... yeah, it should be the cost of how... like how much resources you need to build the damn thing. Makes sense. We have research costs? I don't know. I'm not sure how this affects the buildings. Armor and health, obvious. Exercise index, don't touch that. Boundary level, entrance level, interior boundary level. They determine the boundaries of the building. It's mainly determining the hitbox of the building itself. I am not sure if you can do anything with these values, but again, you're free to experiment. Just be careful with that shit. The game's pretty unstable when some of these values are changed. Pretty sure of that. Station level, no idea, but it probably has something important to do with the game. Because it seems to end with research, so it probably has some kind of importance. Now, how about we look at a... well, let's look at the smelter, for instance. Everything looks the same, but it has a value, capacity and mine distance. Now, capacity, that's obvious. It shows how much of the resources can fit in the smelter. And, well, yeah, I suppose. I'm not entirely sure, I barely ever use the smelters myself. But I'm pretty sure it has plenty to do with the capacity of your resources. And mine distance, I'm not entirely sure about that. But it's probably to determine how far away the smelter has to be from the mine so that it can be safely built. Like, if you are too close, it's just not gonna let you build because of the distance. It's measured in square units of something. I suppose this square unit is some kind of a size in the game. Maybe one step of a certain bot? Who knows? Now let's look at the military factory. It's also a different type of a building. Everything looks the same, but then it has a value, build rates. What's that all about? Well, obviously, it determines how fast shit gets built inside the factory. ranging from 75 to 225. I'm not sure if these are modified values or not. They probably got overridden by that extraction I did. Then there's turrets. Number of weapons comes back. Max rotation. It probably determines how far the turret can turn around. No. And boundary levels, as always. Every building will have their own boundary levels. I suppose each of the values determines a Y and X radius or something. Fuck knows. I'm not an expert on this thing, so don't ask me. There's also a repair rate for garrison. But if you know how the garrison works, then you probably understand better. I never use the damn thing, so I have no idea. And there's a pod that has a lot of shit going on in here. It has its own extraction rate too, and some capacity. Neato. Let's check out the weapons. Different weapons will have different stats, of course, but let's see. Well, here's the vortex weapon. I believe that's the black hole generator gun. But damage, range, speed, that's obvious. Now burst. What the flying shit is this thing supposed to mean? Burst determines how many shots. Well, how many times do you shoot per clip? Here it says 1. Alright? So it means that you only shoot once per clip. If it was 2, you would shoot 2 black holes out instead of 1 per clip. Now, I guess you understand what I mean. If not, well, too bad. And the second value determines how fast whatever other shots come out. So it's 10 seconds. If it was 2 bursts, the second burst would come 10 seconds later. Reload time, obvious, launch offset, deviation, tilt angles. I normally don't touch that shit, so I really don't know what that is all about. Then there's the extras. Obviously here we have a comment explaining what all of this shit means, so most of the time I don't even have to explain what the fuck's going on. The first value is for radius, the others are for various other things like the color of a black hole, the intensity range, the lights, the duration of the first light, all kinds of shit. There are various weapons that are used by different bots, as the comments will happily explain what they belong to. Like here, pulse rifle belongs to overseers and commandos. So you'll know, it's that blue laser thing. Sometimes extras only have one value and no comments on them. That's a bit of a problem, I would say, but what can you do? I don't know what this extra 10 does here in pulse rifle, but if you can figure it out, tell us. We want to know. There's also recoil. I guess there is some kind of recoil in the game, but as you can see the values are pretty damn small, so it doesn't seem very noticeable. Maybe when you're moving or something, then it shows up. Fuck knows. So that's it for the weapons. Oh yeah, the flamethrowers, as you can notice. There's 2 different flamethrowers used in the game. One is for the flame turret specifically. It has all kinds of stupid shit attached to it. Holy fuck. Of course, these extras are mainly comments, so they don't really exist in the game. but still, that's a lot of stuff. Probably different colorations for the flames, in case you want to use something different. This is a fixed value. I'm not sure what this is supposed to mean, but it's probably just to determine that it shoots 5 at 0.5 rate, and you can't change this value. I don't know, maybe. And the other flamethrower is used by the grunt that can be equipped with this weapon. Pretty much the same shit, maybe less extras. The nuclear missile definitely has a lot of extras. Shockwave from radius, shockwave to radius, missile initial flight distance, mushroom ultraviolet speed or something like that, I guess. Lots of interesting stuff. Trail off and flame no rotate scaling values are also included. Not entirely sure what this is all about. You'll have to experiment more on this one. Actually, it also contains range, but I think we covered this one already. The Gorilla Punch is also in here. As you can see, range and speed is already hard coded, so no luck getting this changed. Why would you even want to change the range of a Gorilla Punch? It would make no sense if a punch could hit you from anywhere but its actual model's range. Like if it could hit you 500 meters away, that wouldn't make sense. You can change the reload time, which can make the gorillas incredibly interesting. And dangers. Extras and recoil, as you can see, they have question marks, probably to signify that there's no fucking clue what they are supposed to do for the punch, so you're best off just trying to figure it out on yourself. And that's about it. That's all I know about this shit. General data, I'll give it a look sometime in the future, but that's unlikely. I'm more interested in changing the parameter values of bots and their weapons and see how they fare against the bots. Keep in mind that the changes you do to these files will be used not only by you but by the bots as well. So if you decide, well, I'm gonna make my ion cannon reload in 5 seconds, you best make sure that the damn bot doesn't get the ion cannon, because he will be able to benefit from the 5-second reload as well. Anyway, once you're done doing your modifications, press load. It'll compress those folders back into a file called new Mac1. Just pull it out somewhere where it's safe. Let's pull it out here, for instance. Go back here, rename it to Mac1 and drop it in. I'm not going to drop this in right now because that's going to overwrite my already modified Mac1 file, and I don't want to do that. But once you drop that in, that's it. You finished modding your machines wired for war. Then you just have to playtest to see if everything is working just as you want it. And that's it. There's nothing more I can tell you about modding. You'll have to figure out the rest by yourselves. I hope this helped a little bit. Till then, I'm out to do some more recordings. Catch you later.